Hello, everyone, and again, welcome to my channel. And once again, I am very much delighted to be here to share with you some knowledge in IT or cyber security. And of course, what we are going to be talking about today, we are going to be a little bit hands-on this particular video right here. And I'm sure that you can perfectly see my screen. And if you are seeing my screen, then that means that everything is going to go well. And in today's session, I am going to be sharing with you what I called single sign-on integration, integrating the single sign-on technology in bracket Okta with AWS. And of course, there are other previous videos that I have made, and some of them, again, I will make as prerequisite to this course, whereby if you are still new and you're wondering what single sign-on is and how it works and some of its capacities, then those videos will be able to help you as well. But in today's session, I am just going to have a deep dive straight into how the configuration actually works. Yes, of course, many students, as usual, have asked me, what is the best way for me to go about this? How do I wrap my brain on this concept? I tried the integration, it fails. So what is the best way? Well, again, uh, there is not just one single answer, but I am going to be teaching this course, or I'm going to be doing this presentation in a way that it should be very much easier and straightforward to help anybody that is new and maybe you are trying to practice this at home, and the best approach that I think is going to be uh, of best interest. Now, first of all, if you can look at my screen right now, I have three tabs that are open. One of the tabs is actually showing AWS interface for those of you that are familiar. And one actually is a document, which of course I called an SOP, and one of it is actually an Okta itself. So again, for you to begin this particular tutorial, you must already have done some groundwork, which means having an Okta account already created. And the good thing is that Okta offers some free accounts where you can have your hands dirty as we use it in the profession. You have the admin accounts. I think you have about 2 weeks if you decide to sign up with that one. Or if you need a free account, you can actually sign up for the developer's account, which of course that one is free. So both the admin account and the developer's account, they have the same features. But again, I would encourage you, if you are trying to create your account, to actually go for the developer's account. Again, as I said, again, we are just going to go straight into the lab, and other prerequisites are needed. And of course, we are not going to be talking about those prerequisites right now because that is going to be in a different recording. And so, again, how do you go about, or how do you begin working on the configuration? Well, the very first thing is you need to understand exactly what you are doing. And if you are not sure on how to go about the process, then I can advise you to go on maybe Google. And of course, you can use any AI tool of your preference to be able to draft out an SOP right there, so that it's going to give you a mental vision of how to go about the process. So in my case here, there are two things I'm going to recommend. One, you can actually draft an SOP like the one I have open in front of me. I did this so purposely so that those that are listening to me, you will be able to see exactly the document in front of me. So if you choose to go through this route, you can have your SOP right here. You can actually copy and paste on a Word document converted in the form of PowerPoint. And once you open the document, that is going to open up on a web browser like this. Alternatively, you can just open another tab and decide to go right there and maybe Google that, or maybe have an SOP right there. I'm not sure if you choose to go with maybe ChatGPT or any other cloud platform right there for you to get it step by step. So again, the reason why I do so is because it's going to help you to have at least the three tabs open on the same window, which is going to permit you to be able to move back and forth within the cloud. And of course, your Okta, where the configuration is going to be taking place. And another recommendation here is it is highly advisable, whether you are doing this at home or at work, to have at least two different screens so that it's going to help you and it's going to make the task very, very much easy. So, okay, then let's begin. Assuming that you have met all the prerequisites, the question is, where therefore do I begin? And of course, assuming that you have already an SOP open in front of you, just as I'm having this SOP, it becomes a little bit very easy for you to navigate. Now, let us pretentiously assume that we don't even know what we are doing. This is our first time. We are still struggling. And where do we begin? Now, if we look at the SOP I have right here, again, you will see it says prerequisite. You need an Okta admin access, existing AWS account or identity and access management. And we have a user provisioning enabled, which we are going to see this. But now the first step here is adding and managing users in Okta, right? You're adding a new user. So it says log into Okta admin console, which of course I'm logging already. It says navigate to what? Directory and people and so on. So again, we are going to create a user right here. So let's just follow this. It says navigate to a directory and of course people. Now, if we go here, we are going to see that we have a directory and we have people right here, whereby you can actually create a user right here. So this is an identity. So right now we assume that I already have some identity that I've created right now in this account, right? So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to skip this one because I already have some identities or users that I have created in this particular account. So now, once you are done with this, one of the major steps here is you're going therefore to start the integration of AWS. So again, I am going to skip this other section right here. I'm not going to integrate all the multi-factor authentication since the goal is not actually about identity or user management in this particular presentation. So I am going to go straight here SOP number 2, which talks about managing groups in Okta for AWS assignment. So right now it says navigate your directory, groups, and so on, which of course I assume that by now you must have also created your group, or if you don't have it, then that is fine as well. But now, again, following this SOP, you see everything is well aligned. So now if you go back here to your Okta terminal, you see that there are different options right here. We have the dashboard. If you click on this drop down, you are going to see different options right there, the dashboard, the task, the agent, notification, and so on. But now in this particular dashboard or this particular interface, we are not going to be concerned with these first ones for now. I am going to go somewhere around applications and I'm going to see there are different options when I click on the drop down button. You are going to see application, self-service, API service integration. You are going to see your OIN integration and so on. So Okta integration, this actually contains the list of applications that are stored within Okta network and so on. But right now, our focus is going to be on application. So I'm going to click on this application right here. And once I click on this application, you are going to see an interface like this. So you are going to see here application and you are going to see here create an app integration. You are going to see browse catalog, assign user to app, and there are other options right here. But now our main goal right here is we are trying to actually do a single sign-on configuration between Okta and AWS. So again, I'm just going to go here. And the good thing with Okta is that Okta actually has a repository, or it accepts almost like 7,000 integrations or applications and so on. So that is actually one of the things that makes Okta one of the best out there in terms of identity and access management solution. So when we come here, we have, again, there are so many different options that we have right here. So you are going to see here like single sign-on, 7,659. We have things like directory and HR synchronization and so on. There are so many of them right there. So, but when we come here, what we are looking for is we are working with AWS. So if you are working with any other cloud service provider or any other application, you can search for it right here. So in this case, I'm going to type AWS, of course, Identity Center. So when I type AWS, you see there are different things that may appear under AWS, but precisely what I'm looking for is this right here. So AWS IAM Identity Center is what you are going to pay special attention. So if you click here, then it's going to bring you to this particular interface right here, where we are actually going to be doing the integration. So you can scroll down to be able to have a view of what it looks like and so on. Now, why I am here, I'm just going to click on Add Integration. Okay, Add Integration, and we are going to be brought to this page right here. I'm just going to click here, Done. So when I click here, Done, then this is when the process actually begins. Now you see that we have AWS right here for Identity Center. So Identity Center is a new name right now. It was formerly called Single Sign-On, but AWS decided to rename that as Identity Center. So once you are here, the next thing you have to do is, of course, go to sign on. We have different options right here. You can click by virtue of curiosity to see what is there. You can click on sign on, which is where we are going to pay a lot of attention as we are working. You are going to see provisioning and so on. We are going to see import. We are going to see assignment. We are going to see push and so on. But for now, our attention is going to be on sign on right here. So when you look at it here, it tells you sign on method. The sign on method determines how a user signs into and manages their credentials for an application. Some sign-on methods require additional configuration in the third-party application and so on. So if you look at it right now, you are going to see security accession markup language 2.0. And for those of you, if you are new, you are not quite sure about what this is all about. This is just a security protocol that is going to provide a form of handshake, is going to provide a form of metadata exchange between your identity provider and your service provider. So in this case, therefore, Okta is going to be acting as an identity provider right here. And of course, this information is going to be very useful right here. So again, there are other protocols, but we are going to be focused on this. When you look at, again, there are a lot of information that we are going to be extracting right here as we move ahead. So when you get to this page, of course, one of the things you do today is you can go here to where it says action, and you see where it says view metadata, right? So you actually click on view metadata, and you see it is going to be open right here on the new browser. Now, this metadata is going to be very important because we are going to have this information right now exchanged with AWS. So again, this is going to actually be like a signatory on behalf of the ID provider, in this case, Okta, which is going to be like, hey, I know you can trust all users that go through me because I have verified them. Oh, okay. So, one of the things we are going to do here is we are going to copy this particular metadata right here, and we are going to save it in a notepad. I prefer to use my notepad to be able to save the metadata. So again, right now, I am allowing my notepad to be open right now, as I am going to copy and paste my metadata right here. And so I want us to look a little bit into how my metadata looks like after posting it right here on my notepad. You know, in the past, I've had a lot of people face issues like this, and sometimes they fail to understand that extension can really play a very important role. So it's always good that when you're working is in different projects, especially if you have to save them using different documentations, you should be able to respect at least their extension, because again, those extension right there can really frustrate you, and of course, again, it can really stress you out. So right now, I'm sure you can see my metadata that is copied on my notepad. So again, what I just need to do is I can go on my save on my file. I go on save as, and of course, I am going to save this particular file. And so if you look at it very well right here, usually Windows, because I'm working on the Windows computer, they always use the extension of .exe, but this time around, I'm not going to use that same extension to be able to save my document, but I am going to use XML as my extension. And again, please pay attention to where it says the document type. The document was saved as type is very important, because sometimes, again, people make a lot of mistakes when they come there. So instead of choosing a right document type which they are going to use to save their document, they just save it. You just click save. And of course, at the end of the day, they have a lot of problems. So again, it is always better for you to click on the drop down to see if you can save. You can take all types. All types is, of course, what I am going to recommend when you are saving the document on your notepad in your computer. Okay, that being said, let's go back to our main tutorial and continue work right here. So if you actually look right now, this is my metadata, which already I have uh, saved from actually my ID provider in bracket, Okta right here. Okay, so now after you have this information, then that is not, you are not yet done. So we are going to flip over right now to AWS. And now you begin to see why I actually recommended that you have this open on the same screen, because you are going to be flipping back and forth between Okta and AWS. So when we go to AWS, right now I am inside my identity and access management. Remember, there are two sections. We have one section which is meant to manage identities for those that need maybe I would say long-term credentials, and they'll be working directly within AWS resources. And we have one section also which is called Identity Center in bracket single sign-on, which we are going to be using to manage our external identities. And these are not identities that are being hosted within AWS, but these are identities that are going to be hosted right here in our Okta. So now we find ourselves right here. We are inside our identity center, and we are going to begin the configuration of our external identity store. So what we are going to do is we are going to go to setting, and if we setting here, we are going to choose action. And once we choose our action, it's going to say change identity source. This time around, AWS is not going to be acting as our identity source, but we are going to be using an external identity. us, and that is going to be Okta. So when you come here, one of the things you do is you are going to see, again, we have Identity Center directory. This is not what we want. We have Active Directory. This is not actually what we want because we are not working with that now. You can go to External Identity Provider and you take Next. So once you take next, you are going to have some important information that you need to pay attention to. This information also here is just like Amazon or AWS is going to say, okay, I also have my own part of the game to play. Remember, I'm going to share with you my own metadata, which is going to act as a security token, which is going to be a means of exchange and so on. So now again, if you seek, remember very well that we downloaded this particular metadata right here. Now we are going to, or we'll be required then to upload that metadata right here in AWS. Now, if you look at it very well, we are coming back to this, but again, if you look at this, it is asking us right here, the IDP and a security assertion markup language metadata, right? So this is a metadata that we actually downloaded previously. So I am going to go here, upload file. I am going to go where I actually downloaded that particular metadata. I am going to upload that metadata right here, right here. So it has just been what? Uploaded right here. So again, at the same time, this other information is very important right here. So you go back here to your Active Directory. We are still under sign on. So you click on the edit button right here. And once you click on the audit button right now, here is going to allow you to be able to enter some important information that will be taken from AWS. Now, again, you see here is going to be asking you AWS single sign-on. So again, we are going to copy this ACS URL here from AWS. We are going to come here, and this is exactly what Okta is asking us to copy. So we are going to copy this, and we are going to go back to Okta, and we are going to paste it right here. And the next thing that Okta is asking us to do is they need the single sign-on issuer URL. So we are going to come back here. We are going to look at, of course, this is the issuer URL. We are going to copy this issuer URL and we are going to take it back to Okta right here, just as I'm doing. Now, we can just leave the rest of it like that, and we can just take save right now. So you can click save here. So we have saved this important metadata right here from AWS. So now we are going to proceed and finish the configuration right here. Now remember, I have uploaded the metadata too from our ID provider, that is Okta. And so what we are going to do next is we are going to actually click on next right here. And of course, AWS is going to give us some information to confirm, but all you just need to do is to type accept, right? So again, it's just to inform you that you're about to switch your identity provider right here, or identity store. So we are going to accept this. And of course, we are going to go ahead and say change identity source. Oh, sorry, I missed the T. So I'm going to click here to confirm right now. So again, all this information, we already copied them and we implemented them already. So now we are good to go at this particular juncture right here. So if we come back here, again, you see that we also did the configuration already right here, but we are not yet done with the entire configuration process, right? So again, we are going to go back here to provisioning. And before we go to provisioning right here, so one of the things we are going to do is we are going to go back on AWS and we are going to click on setting. And once we click on setting, one of the things that we should not forget to enable is going to be what I call automatic provisioning, right? Automatic provisioning. So I'm going to enable automatic provisioning right here. And of course, remember, this is another important information that is popping up here that we need to pay specific attention. So again, with all this information right here, so I'm going to be bringing the information right here. So when I click on provisioning, so I'm going to click on configure API, and it's going to say enable API integration. I am going to say yes. And so it's going to ask me to enter some important information right here. So those information go back here. I'm going to copy them right here. First is I'm going to copy this, or let's double check. Now it's a base URL is going to ask for API token. So let's come back here and copy this first. Okay, I can just reveal this because after this, I am going to actually cancel that. Okay, I'm going to enter it right here. This is my token that I've entered right here. So that is the most important thing they're asking about right here. So after I enter this, we can also test. Oh boy, it didn't go through. So again, we are going to enter this information right here. And again, don't be frustrated when you actually do a test and it doesn't work. Okay, now, you see, previously I didn't get the right information right here when I tested that it did not work. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take save. Now, be rest assured that again, the synchronization between AWS and Okta, they have been done so effectively right now. So at this particular juncture, it is done. But please do not forget one important thing. Once you successfully get this done, don't think that you have arrived. No, you can be frustrated at, at this particular point because you might be thinking that, hey, I have done it, I have arrived. No, because again, right here, the synchronization between AWS and Okta has already been fully established. But now, one of the things that you need to do is you have to go on edit, and when you go on edit again, you can decide to enable all this and so on. So again, you enable all this so that the creation of users in Okta is going to be synchronized right there in AWS as well. So you can also enable, deactivate a user and so on. So which means everything that happens with any user on Okta is going also to affect or happen also immediately within AWS. And so what usually happens right here is just get the whole picture because Okta is now sitting in between. On the one hand, we actually have what we call the HR system. It can be Bamboo, it can be Workday, so on. And in the middle, we have Okta, and on the other end, we have AWS. So what happens actually in the HR when employees are onboarded, actually, they can also reflect again within Okta. And of course, from Okta, they reflect also in AWS. So they work together in synchrony and so on. But again, you have to configure Okta separately to communicate with any HR system that you are planning to use. But again, that is another presentation for another day. But when you come here, what you do is you just simply have to save the changes that you have done. Now, at this juncture, you can now see that the integration therefore has been fully established. The only thing that is remaining right now is you can create your users and you can assign your users to AWS. And when you come to AWS, you will be able to see those users, and those users are going to populate right here within, of course, our identity center. So if we go back right here, now is a time for us to to assign a user. So you can come here, people. Now remember, in the very beginning, it asks for what? The creation of people, right? So now if I decide to assign this particular user, So you are going to see the user is going to appear here, and the attribute of the user is also going to appear right here. But I'm not going to take time to fill all this information, okay? So all the information is actually going to appear right here. So after everything appears here, what you are going to do is you just go on save, and of course you take what done. So again, once you do so, again, it means that the users already, you have enabled the users to be synchronized right here. So if we come here and actually do a refresh. Now remember that before I had to refresh my screen, we never had any user right there. So when you come here and refresh, now you see that the user that was created within Okta has now been able to be synchronized immediately right here in AWS. So now you see, therefore, the power of you having your own identity store or an external identity store, and you can actually use them to be able to get access to resources in AWS. Now, again, that is just simply the power of Okta. And of course, you see, if you know what you are doing, it shouldn't really take you more than 30 minutes for you to be able to do the integration. But again, for some of you, I might be fast. Yes. The goal here was just to be able to give you the visual presentation. And of course, you see that again, it is just very, very straightforward. It's not as complex. But if you are doing this for the first time, hey, it may sound like it's something very, very difficult. Yes, of course, when you are doing anything for the first time, you will always face some ambiguity, or you always face some challenges and so on. But the good thing is that, again, I can follow my SOP because I have one already. But since I already have the SOP in me, because I created those steps, I wrote them down, that is why I can easily go ahead and work on this without really needing to flip through the SOP. So again, this is just a very quick tutorial to show you how this integration process between Okta and AWS work. But this is not the end of it. Again, there's still a lot of things that you can do with Okta, such as branding, and so many on managing users and identities and so on. But I believe that we are going to actually have that in the next presentation or in another presentation. And the good thing right here again is that when you are within AWS right here, it offers you different set of permissions and policies that you can use to manage your users. For example, we have things like permission sets right here. And permission sets are very, very good because again, permission set is just there to give you permissions that can be used for a particular period of time. Let's assume that the user or the identity that we had from Okta who just wanted to do something or access a particular service in AWS for a period of time. So what you do is you can create a permission set, which is going to help that identity to be able to access your AWS just for a particular period of time. Let's assume and let's try to use a predefined permission set because you can as well create your own permission set. But in this case, we are just going to be using a predefined permission set. So what we are going to do, you can see here that they have different permissions here that you can actually use. But for now, let's just give an administrator access and you take next. And from next now, you can describe, let's say we can just give a name just called test or whatever. Now you can see, I can decide to say, hey, I just want this particular permission or this particular entity or identity to have access to AWS just maybe for 1 hour or maybe 2 hours and so on. And of course, again, after that, that's fine. Now, you see, it's very important because one of the things, again, with organization is that if you are dealing with a very large organization whereby you have so many identities to manage, sometimes you can grant access. And if you don't have a very good system in place for you to be able to keep track, access those particular identities, you can even give permission and forget that you actually gave permission right here. So again, you just simply do the configuration right there, and this is it right here. So again, there are so many interesting things that we can learn uh, on this, but the main goal of today's tutorial was just to be able to give you a brief and, of course, quick and a simple way for you to be able to understand how single sign-on integration actually works between Okta and AWS. Remember that Okta is very, very robust, and Okta has a lot of integration that can be made. It so happened that AWS is just one of those that I've picked today. Next time I can pick any other technology, maybe Azure or maybe GCP, and we are also going to see how it works. But again, the concept is the same. If you understand how it works with one, then you apply the same concept to any other application, it is also going to work. So knowing how to do it with one, you will also be able to do it with any other application or any other cloud provider out there. So the most important thing for me is you need to fully understand the concepts. Because if you go right now and Google maybe on a job description or maybe on identity and access management engineer, you will see that one of the prerequisites on the job description will be for you to be able to understand things like single sign-on protocols. You should be able to understand how communication takes place between an identity provider and a resource provider and so on. Yes, you will see them on the job description, but again, it's going to help you because if you don't understand how that technology works, then you are going to have some difficulties even knowing what to implement and so on. Again, we can also assign this app again to a user, to this particular user, so that this user is going to have his independent portal that from there he can actually click on that app, and from there it's going to route him to AWS directly and so on. But again, I just want to keep this as short as possible. And if you have any question, please feel free to enter your comment. I'm going to post this on YouTube. Feel free to enter your comment, or you can actually contact us. And of course, we have some discussion. I mean, cybersecurity, we learn every day. Nobody has monopoly of our knowledge. And of course, maybe some people do have, but I personally, I don't have. I learn every day, I grow every day, and I believe that many people are in that same philosophy of learning and growing every day. That being said, see you. And of course, I'll be waiting for the next presentation.